Today is a dollar bin movie, and you're looking at a Woody Allen picture called The Purple Rose of Cairo. Isn't that right, Batman? Purple Rose of Cairo stars Mia Farrow, Jeff Daniels, Danny Aiello. It is written and directed by Woody Allen. I've talked about a previous Woody Allen video on this channel back when I was ignorant to who Woody Allen was and to who Mia Farrow was. Now, both of these characters have decades worth of drama off the screen, to which I am not going to go into or intend to hold against their talents on or behind the screen. For that is the only purpose to which I talk about The Purple Rose of Cairo, is their roles in the making of this film. And any future Woody Allen films, if I ever do future Woody Allen films, will be with that same sentiment in mind. Their history is rich and colorful, to say the least. If you wish to learn about it, you are free to do so. Over the course of last night, I typed up some notes for this video because I thought, why not? So that I don't go off track. I feel like this film deserves an actual attempt at writing up a review. So here's my read-off of what I've written. The Purple Rose of Cairo is an enigma, one I am ever on the fence on whether I can say this is one of the greats, or that I should praise Woody for his genius methods of directing, social commentary, satire, storytelling, and more. Or, however, if I should hate this movie for the depressing reality and the duality of the two worlds that Allen depicts, both on the silver screen within the screen and the humdrum reality that Mia Farrow oh so desperately wishes to escape from, but ends up worse for wear than she was walking into this movie, and ended up praising Woody Allen all the same for his genius. The truth is, I can't hate Allen for this film, regardless of how I feel about that ending, and my longing for the typical overdone storybook ending, where the protagonist ends the film off, at the very least, better than they were walking into it. I can't say that Allen wasn't at least original here. Because it's true, this is an original film that I have seen replicated many a time afterwards, quite possibly out of reverence, tributes, or the simple reality that many people saw this classic, and they just can't get the romantic idea that it portrays out of their bloody minds. The Purple Rose of Cairo offers that romantic idea, this trope, if you will. How do I say this? Here we go. Have you a favorite movie, a favorite novel, a favorite game, a favorite TV show? Have you ever projected yourself into that story somehow, to get involved in your favorite character's life, to go on adventures, to have a romance, to fight a dragon together, whatever it may be? How about wishing that character simply walked out of the book you were reading, walked out of the TV you were watching that film from, or even right off the silver screen itself? Woody Allen makes one of those dreams a reality in this movie. Enter Mia Farrow. This one right here. Her character's name I cannot remember, but Mia Farrow plays a down-on-her-luck waitress working in the Depression-era New Jersey. Her husband is the equivalent of something that I shan't say in this video, but the most simplistic terms that I might use would be to say that he is a pig, a wastrel, Quite simply, her husband is an abusive sod of a man who gambles away all of Mia Farrow's hard-earned money, demands she cook for him dinner every night, and demands she not get mad when he fools around with other women. He is controlling, he is rude, brash, hides it not. In fact, he is so open with this jerkassery that anyone who can't see it can hear it. And if you might say the only person who would be able to find this man repulsive would be not only the blind, but the deaf at the same time. But something tells me they probably know he was a jerk too. Her husband aside, Mia's life isn't quite happy. In fact, nobody's life is happy right now. This is the Great Depression, although you might say some people are happy. The movie industry. If there was one industry that was not falling apart during the 30s, it was the film industry. What do people who hate reality do? They seek to escape it. So when they're not stuck in the reality they are forced to be a part of, they're watching a movie in the theater, hoping to forget their lives, if only for but an hour and a half. Mia is no stranger to such escapings. She seeks to run from her problems, unable to work up the courage to face them. By hiding herself into the theater, watching a movie, and daydreaming about her favorite characters of the latest film showing up on the silver screen. One such film that Mia is obsessed with currently is The Purple Rose of Cairo. Essentially, this is a film about rich people being rich and doing happy little rich people things. They go globetrotting, they meet globetrotters, they do more globetrotting, and they go on parties and adventures of partying and fun and happy and whimsicality. One of the characters in this film, played by Jeff Daniels, perhaps you recognize him from the excellent live-action 101 Dalmatian movie of the 90s. Jeff Daniels' character is an explorer who encounters a rich couple who take him back home with them, for they find him simply fascinating, as does Mia, for she daydreams about him the following day to her sister at work, something that which she really needs to get the ball on. Her mind is in the clouds, or in the gossip that there's no small wonder why she's forgetting their customers' orders, or dropping dishes, or not even fixing up the right orders to give to the customers. She's fixing to get herself fired at this rate. On her 5th viewing of The Purple Rose of Cairo, something strange happens at the theater, the film's midway point. Jeff Daniels' character, Baxter, looks right at her. He starts talking directly to her. You might think that perhaps, in all of the exhaustion of her day-to-day, that she'd fallen asleep in the theater and could possibly be dreaming this. But then, the other members of the audience see this strange happening thing, too. Mia talks back to Baxter, who says he's fascinated with her and simply must meet her. And he just walks right off the silver screen and into her life. It's something of a fairy book story tale. Baxter takes Mia on for something of a mystical ride of fancy and whimsy. They ride Ferris wheels, they have exquisite dinings, but reality is ever calling. It is ever cruel, and it is ever crashing her party. And poor Baxter's fantastical nature does not mesh well with reality's depressing undertones. He keeps taking up typical movie trope ideas in his head. They do, as the films do at certain points, such as in the scene where he is kissing Mia, he expects there to be a fade out. After all, typically after the big kiss, you get a fade out, skipping ahead to the bedroom where they make love. Mia explains that there are no fade outs in reality, to which Baxter is fascinated by, and continues to kiss her. The two are in love. Isn't it wonderful? Well, back in Hollywood, the bigwigs are freaking out that a character in a film just simply walked out of the movie to be with someone in the audience. This has never happened before, but surprisingly, everyone is taking this rather well. Anyways, they contact Jeff Daniels, the actual actor man who played Baxter for this movie. He flies out to New Jersey to hunt down his body double before there's too much bad PR, and he wants to get his body double pushed back into the silver screen so that they can move on with their lives. However, as per Woody Allen trope, he gets roped up into Mia's life as well, and something of a love triangle might start to form. At first, you would think that Jeff Daniels is in love with Mia as well, as she is one of his biggest fans, and she keeps on fangirling over him, and he is all taken aback and all happy about that, and he starts to take her on dates himself, and is all pretty and nice, and then they even have he even fights Baxter over her. The two have a fight, and Jeff Daniels' character is like, come with me away from this place. I'm going to take you to Hollywood. You'll live like a queen, like a princess, and she's all over the moon. For once in her horrible life, reality doesn't seem so terrible. And first you would think that Jeff Daniels is in love with Mia, but you see, he is an actor, and he's merely manipulating her, as an actor is wont to do, in order to get her to pick him over Baxter, so that Baxter, dejected and depressed, would walk back onto the silver screen so that things can go back to normal. Because after that very thing happens, Mia picks Jeff Daniels over Baxter, the actor played by, both of them are played by Jeff Daniels. After that thing, Jeff Daniels ditches Mia and flies off back to Hollywood, leaving Mia on the side of the road, her whole life packed into a suitcase. She had been fired from her job for her head being in those clouds. She's unlikely to get another one soon, considering the Great Depression era. Baxter's back on the silver screen, the one person who actually truly loved her out of the three men in her life. And Jeff Daniels left her for dead, and she left her husband. She's got nowhere to go, and she's miserable, tears streaming down her face. She walks back into the theater and sits herself down to watch another movie, and the credits come onto the screen just as she starts to smile, escaping into the story of the movie and leaving the hell that is her life, if but for a little while. As you can see, that ending pisses me off a little bit, because it's depressing as all get out. It's so depressing that my eyes got emotional as I spoke those very words. Woody Allen excels here in one of my absolute favorite movies of his that I've seen thus far. It's probably my favorite of the dollar bin movies, because this was in the dollar bin at the dollar store. As you can see, I once talked about how MGM, right, as you see right there, MGM, I talked about how there was a bunch of MGM movies. Well, there's a bunch of Woody Allen MGM movies at the dollar store. So I picked it up. I've not seen very many, but I know he has talent. I'm not talking about the man off the camera, off the silver screen, outside of his profession. Because professionally, I cannot deny he does have skill when he applies it. But even if I disagree with that editing, oh, goodness gracious, I cannot. You could tell, though, that this was written by Woody Allen, because you can all but hear Woody Allen's Woodyisms in Mia's character. He essentially wrote himself into the character, if that makes sense. Take a look at the movie Shadow and Fog, a previous video on the Dollar Bin Files playlist that was directed and probably written by Woody Allen. Just take a listen to that Woody Allen character that he plays, because he acts in the movie as the main character. And listen to the dialogue, listen to the writing made spoken, and you can all but tell that that voice that Mia speaks in this film, it's Woody Allen's voice. Woody definitely has an identifiable writing voice, that's for sure. But that's not a bad thing this time. Mia's character is adorable. You can feel for her plight and the struggle that she goes through. And you often laugh at the funny happenstances that happen to her all the same. This is supposed to be a comedy film, but you don't laugh too many times. You laugh at some of the points, but you're left feeling horrible at the end of this movie. Because, you know, much like how an audience would escape to the film for something happier than the life that they're living, They don't walk away having experienced that happy life. They only experience a temporary reprieve before being made to return to that crushing reality. This point in time is a depressing timepiece, after all, but it manages to put a smile on your face all the same, if only for a short while, much like the escapism into the movies itself. Perhaps there's an allegory there that Woody Allen is trying to be a genius about. The cameras he chose to use are retro even for that time. The movie that Bia watches, The Purple Rose of Cairo, the title of this film, the movie is set in the Great Depression era times, so the 30s. The film's in black and white. The picture is very old and classical. Jeff Daniels is in that picture, but you feel like he's shooting this film. You feel like that film could have been shot in the 30s, the actual 30s. The way he shot this film, this was made in the 80s, but that film, the equipment used, the audio, the camera work, everything about that film that you see on the silver screen, black and white, it just feels like it walked right out of the 30s. Woody Allen was excellent in his filmmaking, camera capturing talent. The directing there was excellent. I loved it. I wish more movies filmed with classic equipment, intentionally, to make a retro-feeling movie that looks and feels like it stepped right out of that time period. Some of them do that, some of them still do that, but not too many of them. Which is precisely what Woody Allen does here, there. Both the Depression-era color of New Jersey still has a sort of like desaturation to the tone color. It doesn't look colorful as life actually is. It looks a little bit faded. It looks a little bit sad, even though it is in color. It's shot in a way that makes you realize that reality isn't exactly highly saturated like a cartoon. It is not highly saturated like The Wizard of Oz. It is not a beautiful place. No, it's not. It's not. It's precisely what Woody Allen does, though. Both the Depression-era color and the dreamlike black and white paradise that is the silver screen are oozing with creative differentiation that you can tell from a simple glance. There's a lot of technicality put to work on this picture, but it's done in such a way that even somebody who has no career in film can see it. Someone with the simplest of eyes can see the skill that went on in the making of this film. You can all but see it. As a lifelong lover of movies and watching movies, I can honestly say that I do appreciate the heck out of this film. Even if the ending makes me incredibly depressed, and incredibly reflective on my own life, and the lives of others, and the realistic justifications for why we watch movies. Why do we go to the movies? What the role of escapism has on someone seeking to take a vacation from that little thing we call reality. There's a lot of reasons people go to the movies. A lot of different reasons. We wouldn't say it's the same reason that everybody's depressed, that we all go to the movies to escape the reality that we're stuck in, if but for a little while. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. Because, typically, a lot of people would watch the movie to be entertained. Maybe their life is pretty happy, but they just want to be entertained with a movie, and that's also one of the reasons why we watch movies. It's, regardless, a very reflective type of film, and something that you can take away much from. It is a film that deserves to be discussed. It deserves to be respected, regardless of the hands that went into making it and their private lives to which we would look upon and judge. I would only try to say that you should not judge this film for the hands that created it. Do not judge this film for that. Let it stand outside of that. Let it stand apart from those people. The only time you would attempt to discuss those people would be for their professional role that they had in making this film come to life. Because it deserves to be discussed. It deserves to be loved. It deserves to be hated. It deserves to exist within the realm of the cinephile and the discussion of movies. Because if there's one thing that I can say with absolute certainty is this film is imaginative.